So welcome back to Red-Handed Robin. Last time, I think we unequivocally got Detective Wren's, or Warren's, best ending. I mean, it has to be his best ending. I mean, we got a little flashback to Warren and Roslyn, way back when they were kids, and what happened between them when he was forced out. And we either deflected suspicion enough, or aroused enough curiosity to keep him from suspecting us as jewel thief / murderer. And again, we don't even really know if we... I assume we did, but perhaps we'll learn more about that further along. I think for starters... Which one did we... Oh, that's right. Okay. This was the first question that we got asked in our earlier socializations that he could call us out on. I believe the first question was worded in the sense of, we're either a young widower or we're a businesswoman. I'm recently single. I only became single recently, actually. He's quite lucky indeed. Wren puts his hand to his chin and smiled. I thought so. A woman as beautiful and charming as you wouldn't stay single for very long, I suspect. Do you think your flowery words will lower my guard? I won't be distracted so easily. After all, we've played this game before, haven't we, Detective? You're the charming yourself, aren't you? I'm sure you have all the girls swooning over you. He laughed again. I'm afraid I've never had much luck with women. I'm not very good at saying no, so I usually end up getting trampled on. Now we know the reason why. But enough about me. If I'm being honest, I assumed you and your friend Jay here were a couple. You seem to assume a lot of things. Jay glared at Wren as though he were trying to bore a hole through him with only his eyes. It was Fletcher who finally broke the tension. Yeah, you have to forgive the detective. He has a bad habit of turning conversations into interrogations. I'm being rude, aren't I? My apologies. I'm inquisitive by nature, so I can get a bit overzealous at times. Fletcher took another sip of his drink. And I think we're back to a normal bit of conversation. Yes, how long have you two known each other? Now, this was the first one we got wrong, I think? But let's see what this dialogue says. Yeah, let's keep up with the truth. We only met recently. I hired him just for this trip. It can be dangerous for a woman traveling alone, so he's accompanying me as protection. An excellent idea, if I do say so myself. It is the first train out of the country. I'd imagine there are a number of ill-intentioned people out here. Oh my, I should hope not. The tickets were very expensive for the maiden voyage. I wouldn't think criminals would be able to afford them. You have an innocent heart, ma'am, but not all criminals are lowly burglars or pickpockets. Wren, there's no need to scare our traveling companions with your pessimism. You're right. I suppose suspecting the worst is part of the job description. Please ignore me. This journey is probably quite safe. Now, this one... We've never been there. We've never been to Zephyr, but let's answer. I can't recall the exact name, but I'm certain it had the word Scarecrow in it. What an interesting piece of trivia for someone who has never been to Gales before to know. He must be very well educated. Eh. Red closed his eyes and thought. Yes, it was something like that, wasn't it? It's called the Scarecrow's Feast. Yes, that's it. I see you know your Gaelish history, Mr. Rhodes. Brief time skip as I went back and picked the first wrong choice. Yeah, I think I was incorrect, because the first choice just seems to be flowery conversation. And doesn't seem to arouse any doubt in Wren either way, but the next two choices definitely are. So definitely things that we could have lied about. How long we've known Jay, and whether we gave an answer or not in relation to whether we said it was our first time going to Gales or not. Yes, that's it. I see you know your Gaelish history, Mr. Rhodes. We're very excited, aren't we, honey? This woman's voice has changed 500 times, because I'm terrible at doing consistent voices between videos. The woman's husband was long since passed out. He sat slouched in his chair, snoring. How about you, Robin? Will you be on holiday as well? Well, clearly, I'm going to relax. Yes, I'm looking forward to relaxing and enjoying the sights. I think it's important to travel and see other cultures. You're traveling just for the feast, then? I would have thought you'd be too busy. What with your dog shoe business and everything. Dog? Shoes? I'd heard Robin was an entrepreneur who created the first shoes for dogs. Maybe I was mistaken. You know very well that you're not. Attending the festival is vital research. A prime location is one that's easily accessible during a time like this, when the city will be full of tourists. That hadn't occurred to me, but it does make sense. Nice cover, Robin. You're quite the entrepreneur. To be able to travel to such an interesting event is a privilege. I only wish I could attend as well. Will you not be staying in Gales, Detective? Sadly no. I'll be returning home immediately when we reach our destination. My business is here, on the train. Oh my. Has something happened with one of the passengers? I think that covers all of our bases as far as bad decisions. So I think for now, as we have this discussion about rules and justice, the detective already knew how I felt about rules and games. I feel like this was the swing point that gave us his backstory. I can speak this secret language of yours, too. Actually, I have to agree. Laws are written by those in power. That doesn't necessarily make them right. There have been many corrupt rulers throughout history, and plenty of just criminals. Take Robin Hood, for example. Now, the secret language makes more sense. Wren's eyes sparkled with intrigue. The sheriff used the absence of the king to impose his own selfish will over the townsfolk, but Robin knew it was wrong. He was breaking the law, but that made him a hero. I should have guessed a girl named Robin would be quite taken with the idea of a righteous gentleman thief. Though I suppose that makes me the sheriff in this situation. I'd like to think I'm the good guy here. I think the both of you are rather depraved yourselves. I suppose you're right, though I never claimed to be completely innocent. Red laughed, and when he spoke again, he was back to his congenial self. What an opinionated group. I'm glad I decided not to turn in early, after all. It was all wonderfully melodramatic, Detective, but what does that have to do with you being on the train? Oh, right, the most important part. I think there was one more choice in here? Oh yes, that's right. We forgive you for talking about murders on our lovely, relaxing, rich people, bourgeois train ride. I stood as well. Now that I was so close to him, it was obvious how much he had grown since I'd last seen him. Have you always been this handsome? Perhaps I wasn't old enough to notice before. I offered him my hand, which he gladly took. We never stopped being friends, Detective. Aw. For a moment he looked genuinely overjoyed, and his grip on my hand tightened ever so slightly. I'm happy to hear you say that, in more ways than one. You know, Detective, I'm quite fond of games myself. Is that so? I nodded and leaned in close, whispering in his ear. I don't like to lose, either. My breath tickled his neck, causing him to shiver. Uh-oh. Maybe if you're feeling stuck, the two of us could discuss this puzzle of yours together. 2 heads are better than 1, as they say. Perhaps I'll take you up on that. Good night, Wren. Good night, Robin. I let go of his hand and headed for the door. Jay followed close behind me. When we were finally out of the car, I gasped for breath. My entire body was buzzing with electricity. A fucking detective. What are we going to do? Not here. Wait until we're in the cabin. I tried to walk, but it was as though my legs weren't listening. I stumbled, and Jay quickly caught me by the arm. Careful, you idiot. He must have been worried because his name-calling lacked its usual bite. He put his arm around my shoulder and helped support my weight as we quickly headed back to the cabin. We walked in silence, but my mind was swarming with thoughts. So it's a game you want? Well, allow me to oblige. But I hope you remember, Wren, that I have never once lost to you. Ah! Back in our cabin, I sat on the bed, lost in thought. Jay, however, was pacing so furiously that he might burn a track in the floor. The detective. I should have known they would realize the ticket was missing. But how'd they know about the jewels? Sullivan told me everything in the safe was off the books. I knew we should have taken them. Why do I keep listening to you? Nothing to say for once. Good, because you're going to keep it that way. Excuse me? You heard me. We're not leaving this cabin again until we reach Gale's. What are you talking about? He doesn't have anything to go on yet. He said so himself. And you're not going to be around to give him anything to go on. He practically dared you to try to get away with this. He knows it was us. He may suspect us, but he doesn't know it was us. He would have arrested us on the platform. As long as we don't give him any ammo, we've already won. He stormed over to the bed and placed his hands on either side of me, leaning his whole body over mine. Oh. 1. So this is a game to you as well? In the short time we had been together, I'd never seen him this agitated. What sort of relationship did you have with this detective of yours? What? Are you jealous? Is that why you're angry? I'm angry because you've ruined my life. I killed a client. I'll be excommunicated for that. Oh. I'll be lucky if they allow me the luxury of exile in Gales instead of putting a bounty on my head. Now you and your insane ex-boyfriend are in some sort of twisted chess game. Uh-oh. Ex-boyfriend? So you are jealous? Are you even listening to me? Now he was making me angry. Who did he think he was? I am listening. You seem to be blaming me for things that are entirely your own doing. I don't recall asking you to kill Sullivan. I would have been perfectly capable of... With one swift movement, I was pinned to the bed, Jay towering over me. Oh no! For a fraction of a second, I thought he meant to kiss me. But instead, I felt the cold barrel of his gun aimed at my chest. Oh no! How selfish can you be? You're not the only one whose life is at stake here. Since you are apparently incapable of self-preservation, allow me, once again, to help you. You will not be leaving this cabin until we reach Gale's. You must really be desperate to think he can intimidate me. Did that make you feel better? His face looked pained, and he didn't respond. Did you really think I'd believe that? That you would go so far as to kill me to protect yourself? You've already proven that, for whatever reason, you value my life above your own. I can see I've wounded your pride, and I'm sorry for that. But let me make something clear. I don't need you. I never asked for your help, nor do I want it. Oh no. I will continue to do as I please. If you don't like it, then perhaps we should part ways. Why did I say that? So that's how you feel. His weight lifted off the bed, leaving me laying there alone. Perhaps you're right. You're not going to fight back? Avoiding my eyes, he strode across the room and sat on the sofa. Yes. Well, I suppose it's for the best. I'll just continue to cause you trouble otherwise. Oh. As I said before, I don't intend to hold myself up in here for the rest of the trip. But I won't do anything that will draw further suspicion either. I hope you'll continue to keep me company until we reach our destination. As you wish. It seemed as though he'd completely given up. It hurt to hear his voice so full of apathy. I'm quite tired now. I think I'll try to sleep. Are you planning to sleep over there? He nodded, wordlessly. Wait, I don't want that. Please, stay by my side. I got under the covers and watched as Jay curled up on the sofa he was much too tall for. I might have teased him about it. Would he still have some sarcastic retort? Or would I get another silent nod? If I apologized now, would he forgive me? I searched my mind for the words to say that might bring him back. But nothing came. I lay there, alone in the dark, listening to his slow, steady breathing until I fell asleep. A sharp pinch in my arm woke me from a restless dream. I could feel a dip in the mattress. Someone was sitting next to me on the bed. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I could just make out his broad back. Jay? The figure withdrew something from my arm, and I suddenly realized what it was. Jay placed the syringe in a small case laying beside him and closed it up. Oh no. My head began to swim, and the clarity that had come when I awoke began to dissipate. Why? This is the only thing I could think to do. I know you probably won't forgive me for this, but I've come to terms with that. I still have every intention of letting you go once we reach Gales. But for now, please let me protect you. Jay, My mind was a jumble of thoughts. I wasn't sure what I was trying to say. Don't have the right to ask this, but could you call me by my real name? Just one last time. Oh. The drug was quickly taking over, but I was still aware enough to refuse such a selfish request. Tears stung my eyes as I gazed up at him with contempt. Oh, I understand. A dark fog filled my brain, and I drifted out of consciousness. I'm sorry, Robin. Next thing I remembered was waking up at a hotel in Gales. Jay must have checked me in. He had left me the suitcases with all my belongings, but the case with the stolen jewelry was gone. I suppose he must have taken it, though it seemed out of character for him. He never wanted to bring it with us in the first place. I decided that was for the better. That case had already cost me something I deeply cared for. It was probably cursed anyway. Ah. Aww. Damn, that was really... that was really sad. Once at least. There were a million things I wanted to ask him, but the drug was quickly taking over. Shay. Oh. A dark fog filled my brain, and I drifted out of consciousness. I'm sorry, Rosalind. Ah. Next thing I remembered was waking up at a hotel. We even still referred to his real name afterwards. Next thing I remembered was waking up at a hotel in Gales. Shay must have checked me in. He had left me the suitcases with all my belongings, but the case with the stolen jewelry was gone. I supposed he must have taken it, though it seemed out of character for him. He never wanted to bring it with us in the first place. I decided that was for the better. That case had already cost me something I deeply cared for. It was probably cursed anyways. Ah! Variation. Aww. I wonder, regarding how to proceed. It seemed like arousing too much suspicion. And obviously playing to Wren in the final choices got us Jay's bad end. I wonder if that goes back to the choice with the drink. When we made to drink it, and Shay did a power move and drank it right as we were holding it. Fucking huge power move. Wonder if that was a J flag, and that's why going through this the way we did set us to Jay's bad ending. So I think the first order of business is to, let's flip on the final choices with Wren and see if how that changes the outcome. We haven't actually seen those choices, so let's try it. I forgot I had saved here, actually, so let's be firm to the law. If this was some kind of trap, I wasn't going to fall for it. Rules exist for a reason, Detective. They're there to protect us. If you're saying that anyone should be able to do as they please, so long as they can get away with it, I'd have to say that's not justice. Smirking, Wren leaned forward and made a show of carefully considering my words. Is that so? I agree with Robin. If you ask me, I'd say you're rather depraved yourself, Detective. I suppose you're right, though I'd never claimed to be completely innocent. Wren laughed. When he spoke again, back to his congenial self. What an opinionated group. I'm glad I decided not to turn in early, after all. Let's move ahead, since nothing seems to have changed beyond that. Starting such dark conversation right after meeting. I must have scared you, ladies. I hope we can still be friends. You don't scare me. I stood as well. Now that I was so close to him, it was obvious how much he had grown since I'd last seen him. If it weren't for all the scruff, he might be quite handsome. Oh, offered him my hand, which he gladly took. Don't worry, Detective. I'm not afraid of you. I'm glad to hear that. I hope I get to speak to you more tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Jay, let's go. I think I'll turn in as well. Jay stood, and to my surprise, offered Wren his hand too. Positive Jay points. As he and the detective shook, I could see Jay's grip tighten. I'm not afraid of you either, Detective. That's quite a handshake you have. I understand you're worried for Robin's safety, Detective, but you can leave that to me. I don't intend to let anything happen to her, least of all you. It's good to know she has someone she can trust. Jay let go of the detective and gently took me by the arm. I was used to him being rather rough, so that tenderness of his touch took me by surprise. Is this some kind of show for Wren? Let's go, Robin. Yes, of course. I nodded, and the group all went their separate ways. Now, how's this going to go? When we were finally out of the car, I gasped for breath. My entire body was buzzing with electricity. A fucking detective. What are we going to do? Not here. Wait until we're in the cabin. I tried to walk, but it was as though my legs weren't listening. I stumbled, and Jay quickly caught me by the arm. Careful, you idiot. He must have been worried, because his name-calling lacked its usual bite. He put his arm around my shoulder and helped support my weight as we quickly headed back to the cabin. We walked in silence, but my mind was swarming with thoughts. So it's a game you want. Well, allow me to oblige. But I hope you remember, Wren, that I have never once lost to you. Back in our cabin, I sat on the bed, lost in thought. This feels like another bad-end setup. Jay, however, was pacing so furious that he might burn a hole in the floor. A detective. I should have known they would realize the ticket was missing. Oh shit. I just realized we also, kept our, doubt choices going. So that's a bit troubling. But how do they know about the jewels? Sullivan told me everything in the safe was off the books. I can't believe it's him. Just as I'm about to real freedom, and he's the one standing in my way. About that. Oh, this is slightly different. Jay stopped in his tracks. It's obvious he suspects us, so why didn't he just arrest us on the platform? Yep, definitely. We aren't blatantly acknowledging our past with him. We aren't engaging in the game. So that obviously isn't piquing Jay's jealousy, so to speak. Part of the evening's conversation echoed in my mind. You speak as though you see all of this as a game. Oh, I most certainly do. One I intend to win. And if the criminal wins? He thought for a moment. Then I suppose they deserve their freedom. It's a challenge. He's saying if we can beat him, he'll let us go free. Why would he do that? Because I think I invented the game he's playing. What do you mean? When he worked for my family, he and I used to play a game called Robin Hood. I made it up. The goal was for Robin to commit a crime, and for the sheriff to prove Robin guilty. Oh. I was always Robin, and I always won. And now we're Robin once again. Oh! You've got to be kidding me. This is all some childish game between you and your ex-boyfriend? He's not. I had every intention of protest, but the words wouldn't come. What are you to me now? It's not like that. Jay furrowed his brow and started pacing again. I could tell he wasn't satisfied with that answer, but he left it alone. If you're right and he's just waiting on us to incriminate ourselves, then we already have a problem. I didn't answer. Of course he was right. I couldn't keep my story straight all evening, and Wren definitely noticed. Was that enough for him to go on? Could I have blown our cover with such silly lies? The train doesn't stop until we reach Gale's. Should we just hole up in the cabin until then? If our conversation gave him enough ammunition, he might already be mobilizing. Robin, there's something I want to... A sharp knock on the door stopped Jay mid-sentence. He pressed a finger to his lips, telling me to be quiet. I nodded and tried to find a more defensible position, but the cabin was quite cramped to begin with. Jay pulled his gun from its holster and stood beside the door at the ready. Another knock came, more forceful than the last, when he again didn't answer. Boom! The door crashed open, and several men dressed as train attendants rushed in. Ooh. Oh, Jesus! Bang, bang! Jay shot twice, but a larger man had already slammed into him and directed his aim upwards. Oh, no! Both of them toppled onto the ground, wrestling for control of the gun. Two more attendants darted around the massive limbs writhing by the doorway and rushed at me. I desperately groped around for something to defend myself with, and my hands lighted on the case of stolen jewelry. Everything is fine! Everything is fine. I swung it wildly and managed to bash one of the men in the head. And now the case is going to come open. Oh, yep, there we go. There we go. Hey, don't mind us. We just have a gun and a big case of jewelry. Don't mind us. We totally don't have a dead man's ticket. It was knocked to the ground, but the case slipped from my grasp and crashed into the nearby wall, sending its contents flying. The second man seized me around the middle, pinning my arms to my sides. Why is he so strong? Bang! I winced at the sound of another loud gunshot rang in my ears. Jay let out a painful grunt. The man he had been fighting with stood back up and calmly trained Jay's own gun at his head. Jay! I'm all right. But his hand covered a bloodstain spreading across his chest, and His breathing was becoming ragged. Before I could say anything, someone else stepped through the threshold and into the light. I glanced around the room, eyes lingering on the jewels strewn about the floor. With the light from the moon shining through the windows, they glittered like stars. Just as I suspected. Wren stepped around the man I'd managed to incapacitate and crouched down to pick up a particular piece. It was a small, engraved silver box, quite plain among the many more opulent trinkets. He slipped it into his pocket and stood back up. Is it the pocket watch? Our flight to freedom was over. We were caught, but that was the last thing on my mind. Jay's hurt. He needs medical attention. Wren didn't answer. Avoiding my eyes, he instead addressed the men restraining me. Take her to one of the storage cars and tie her up there. How dare he ignore me right now? I was determined to get his attention. Ah. Let's be mean first. Answer me or I'll... There was nothing I could say. Wren was holding all the cards. Finally, he faced me. Where I expected to find anger, however, I found sadness. Please, he might die. Don't you have to do whatever you can for him? Isn't that in your precious rules? He spoke quietly, and with none of the jovial warmth he had this evening. Unfortunately for your friend, you've stolen something from someone above the law. There's nothing I can do. I don't understand. Do you mean Sullivan? He's already dead. He gave me a searching look. Robin, don't you have any idea what you've... That's enough, Detective. Fine. He furrowed his brow and gave me a forlorn look. These men aren't police, Robin. Please, do as they say. Oh. That's concerning. Not police? Then why was he working with them? Why are you doing this? His expression changed from sorrow to sheepish guilt at that question. I thought I might be able to convince him. This is your last warning, Detective. Once again cut short, he stood in silence for a moment, thinking. Something more is going on here. Is Wren in trouble? We're done for now. Take her to the storage car. The man began to forcefully drag me towards the door. Wait! I struggled as much as I could, but it was futile. The man had a monstrously strong hold on me. Even if I escaped him, there was still the large man. As we passed him by, Wren gave me one last apologetic look. I'm so sorry, Robin. I tried. I really did. But you didn't give me much to work with. Oh, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed. I thought you were better than this. I think I was able to convince him not to hurt you, but... I can't do anything for your friend. Jay! I continued to fight the man holding me, but we were already making our way down the hallway. Wren, please! Inside the room, I heard Jay weakly call out to me. But then... Ah! Jesus! How could I have let this happen? It must have been something else. Yes, I'm sure I misheard. Next time I see him, I'll have to tell Jay he was right all along. We shouldn't have taken the jewelry. As the man dragged my now limp body to somewhere I forget, I wonder what was in the silver box. It didn't matter anymore. I'd never see Wren or the box ever again. That was fine by me, though. It was probably cursed anyway. Whew. Well, damn. That was loaded. Hot diggity. We have to at least... Warren! Warren. He waved his hand dismissively. It seems the lady hasn't deemed me important enough to properly remember my name. What? Why are you lying? Finally he faced me. Where I expected to find anger, however, I found... sadness. Oh, please, he might die. Warren, please! Inside the room, I heard Jay weakly call out to me. But then... Jesus, we have to hear that again. How could I have let this happen? Must have been something else. Yes, I'm sure I misheard. Next time I see him, I'll have to tell Jay he was right all along. We shouldn't have taken the jewelry. As the man dragged my now limp body to somewhere I forget, I wondered what was in the silver box. Anymore, I'd never see Warren or the box ever again. That was fine with me, though. It was probably cursed anyway. Bad end, Warren. Oh, damn. Yeah, that's a lot to take in. God, that's a hell of a revelation. We thought he was genuinely here to investigate the murder, and just playing the whimsical game, but the stakes have proven much higher than that, it seems. It seems like there's more going on with our dead jeweler and his jewelry, his off-the-books jewelry, than we first anticipated. We believe Warren is a detective, but currently doesn't appear to be really. Maybe just us, so to speak. He said he wanted to convince someone. And my first suspicion, in seeing the Warren's flashback in his good end, is that one, the silver box he pocketed was the pocket watch that Rosalind tried to give him when they were kids, seriously or not. And the person he's trying to convince, who's above the law, I also wonder if that's Rosalind's father. Very interesting. I'm curious to see more from that. I feel like our next step is Jay's good end, but I think we're also going to go in and see the remaining choices we haven't tried yet on our way to that. I think I have a good enough idea now that being dismissive of Wren's game gives us J points, so I feel like we have to do that, but also not draw suspicion to sick Wren on us. So we'll do that momentarily. Is this blood? Let's see how we explain our way around this. Ah, yes, that is indeed blood, but you need... Your companion here and I were taking care of some business earlier, and well, go on, Jay, show him. Jay obligingly rolled up his sleeve, showing off a nasty scar. There you see. Bloodstains are a bit of an occupational hazard when you work for the family. The family? Oh yes, I'm sure I don't need to tell you which one. Jay pulled his sleeve back down and glared at the attendant, which really helps sell the story. Selling a story that fits in with Jay's character. It probably wasn't even intentional, he just tended to glare a lot. Right. Scar was far too old to have been caused recently, but the attendant was suitably intimidated anyway. Everything seems to be in order here. Until a man carelessly crossed our path, nearly colliding with Jay. Are you alright, sir? I'm so sorry. It's fine. Oh, are you sure? I'd hate to have caused injury to someone in the family. I beg your pardon? Is there really the family? I thought I was just making things up. Ah, forgive me. I overheard you talking to the attendant. I only meant that it was an honest mistake. One that I hope the family will let slide. Something about this man was setting off alarm bells in my head. Was he intentionally eavesdropping? Why does this feel so nostalgic? We'll find out. You picked this one to tease me, then. Did his best to maintain an austere facade, but sometimes someone more playful would peer through the cracks. We've already done this, and I think we're going to roll forward with this choice, but you drink it. Of course it doesn't, you ass. Who would ever want to drink this? I thrust the glass out for him to take. He obliged, smirking all the while. Drank it down in one gulp and placed the glass back on the cabinet. Perhaps the criminal life doesn't agree with you after all. Ugh, pouty face. Knock on the door jolted us from our little game and back to reality. Actually, I want to see Jay's power move again, so we're going to run this back. He did his best to maintain an austere facade, but sometimes someone more playful would peer through the cracks. I will drink it. If this is the kind of thing you like, I shall try to lower myself to your level. I brought the cup to my lips and hesitated. It really was disgusting, but I don't want to lose to that brute. I closed my eyes, and just as I was about to tilt the glass back, I felt a hand on mine. If you find it so distasteful, allow me to do it for you. Holding my gaze, and with both of us still clutching the glass, he drank down every last drop. He pulled away and wiped his mouth, leaving me holding the empty cup. That's an interesting face you're making. Should I have let you try to... How did you put it? Lower yourself... Oh, hello. You barely gave me a chance. Afraid of losing to a girl? Just thirsty. Ah, yes. Let us proceed. Well said, my dear. Do tell me, have you been to Gales before? Oh, I have been. Oh, yes, I've been many times. It's a lovely country. Really? Do you know of any good places to visit? It's my first time, and I want to make sure I see all the best Gales has to offer. Ah, I'm afraid I was visiting the rather isolated northern mountain region. I'd never been to the capital myself. I tried to remember my geography lessons. Mountains were in the north, right? Oh, the mountains, really? That must have been so peaceful. It was. The view from the peaks was simply breathtaking. An express train from capital to capital is a genius idea, and it's so spacious and elegant. They say travel broadens the mind. Well, I'm traveling for business, so I hope it broadens my pockets as well. What is it you do, Miss Robin? I'm a wealthy widower. I was training as an opera singer, but that was before I met my now late husband. Such a charming man, rest his soul. I had no idea he was wealthy at the time. How I miss him. Oh, my dear, I'm so very sorry. Sulk would have wanted me to move on, right, Jay? Since then I've been using what he left me to live my life to the fullest. That's what he would have wanted. Such an adventurous spirit. I envy your youth, Miss Robin. What about you, handsome? What's your vocation? The slightest glance at me, Jay gave the vague answer we had agreed to earlier. Protection. We're gonna skip over Jay being bullied by these two old ladies. I'd better rescue him, if only to move this conversation along. He is my brother. I suppose it's a bit too obvious, isn't it? Yes, you ladies are right. Jay and I don't have an arrangement, so much as an unbreakable bond. We're actually siblings. damn. I was hoping for the other outcome. Siblings? Now that you say it, I do see the resemblance. You two could be twins. I'm afraid my dear older brother is a bit overprotective. He refused to let me take this trip without an escort, even though I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. How sweet! You must love your little sister quite a lot. Jay? Don't be shy, brother. Tell them how much you love me. Just enough to keep myself from throwing her off this train, I suppose. Another of your classic jests. He's a little uncontrollable with displays. Wording would have changed the meaning of this sentence drastically. He's a little uncomfortable with displays of affection. Good-looking, capable, and timid. What a tragedy that you're tied up at the moment. You could tell this joke was beginning to irritate him. What a baby. If I pushed him much further, he might confine me to the cabin for the rest of the trip. I decided to make our escape. If you'll excuse us, ladies, I think it's time we made the rounds. I stood my chair in motion for Jay to follow. Yes, of course, my dear. It's a long ride, and I'm sure we'll see each other again. Bye, handsome. Oh, get me out of here, Robin. Oh, I'm just realizing that this part is actually related to our earlier choices. By now, what is he implying? I'm just realizing that. This one we talk about how we're too young to be spoken for. Because we were a businesswoman. Okay. So in theory, if we say this, Detective, you wound me. I'm still very young. I don't intend to let any man tie me down just yet. We should get... Wren leaned forward and put his hand to his chin. Could have sworn the woman who accosted me earlier said something about you having been previously married. Shit! He must have been asking the other passengers about me. I'll be ready for that now. We've played this game before, haven't we, Detective? Maybe that's a warm-up question. Maybe that's a warm-up question that saying we're a widower triggers. That's interesting. And we just skipped over it because we went with the other option before. Because I swear when we said we were an entrepreneur, both the choices didn't seem to give any negative reaction out of Wren. Let's run that back and keep this together. I only became single recently, actually. He's quite lucky indeed. Wren put his hand to his chin and smiled. Ah, yes, of course. Remember those women that accosted me earlier saying something about a lovely young widow on the train? Could they have been talking about you? Oh, shit. He must have been asking the other passengers about me. I'll be ready for that now. Maybe that's just an indicator. We've played this game before, haven't we, Detective? Robin, you said Jay was your bodyguard. How long have you two known each other? Let's go with the wrong way. We only met recently. I hired him just for this trip. Just recently, you say? That's odd. Shit, how did I forget about that? Well, you see, we were estranged. Our parents separated when I was a baby. I had no idea before meeting with him that I'd be hiring my own brother. Wren smiled mischievously. Well, that explains it then. How fortuitous. It must be nice to be reunited. Yes, quite. It could be dangerous for when traveling alone, so he's accompanying me as protection. And now, the right way. We've been together for quite some time now. You might even say you've been together your entire life, right? I suppose it's now only natural for a brother to want to protect his sister. Must be nice to have such strong sibling bonds. I have to say I'm quite jealous. I'm an only child myself. Siblings? So sorry. Once again, my information comes from gossip. I suppose I must come off as quite the stalker. That's putting it lightly. Yes, Jay is my older brother. Older, huh? Not to be rude once again, but I have to say he looks a bit younger than you. You don't say. I'm profoundly insulted. You should take that as a compliment, brother, since we've already established I'm quite young myself. Truthfully, I had no idea how old Jay actually was. Made a mental note to ask him later. After all, he was playing games trying to figure out how old we are. It can be dangerous for a woman to travel. An excellent idea if I do say so myself. It was something to do with scarecrows, I think. Miss remained silent. I wasn't completely confident in my answer, so I decided to keep quiet. I'd have thought you would know this one, Robin. Those women told me you'd been to Gale's mountain region. Do they not celebrate the festival there? I traveled there in the off-season. I was invested in my studies at the time, so I never really paid attention to such things. I see. You must have taken your education very seriously, then. Of course. Scarecrow's Feast. Thank you, Fletcher. So let's tell. I can't recall the exact name, but I'm certain it had the word scarecrow in it. Oh, that's right. You've actually been to Scales before, haven't you, Robin? Wren closed his eyes and thought. Yeah, it was something like that, wasn't it? It's called the Scarecrow's Feast. Thank you, Fletcher. How about you, Robin? Will you be on holiday as well? I'll be too busy. A festival sounds well and good, but I'm afraid I'll be short on time while I'm there. I'm traveling for business. A businesswoman, eh? You become more intriguing by the minute. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. My shop makes custom shoes for dogs. I'm traveling to Gale's in the hopes of opening a second boutique. That's a genius idea. Wonder how the process differs from making shoes. Of course, some other time maybe. That seemed to be normal. Interesting. That one seems to be normal. But since we are a lovely rich widower, we have to go with this. Lovely rich widow. Widower is the male version. Yes, I'm looking forward to relaxing and enjoying the sights. I think it's important to travel and see other cultures. How fun. I'm sure your late husband will be happy to see you and enjoy yourself. Yes, rest his soul. He always said we would travel there together. Yes. Yeah, the other option didn't seem openly, press X to doubt, but this one was definitely the right answer. Now, this is interesting. The auto-skip stopped us on this next line. I have to say that's not justice. Smirking, Wren leaned forward and made a show of carefully considering my words. Is that so? He's thinking. I agree with Robin. If you ask me, I'd say you're rather depraved yourself, Detective. I suppose you're right, though I never claimed to be completely innocent. It's a small change from the fact that we went through this without arousing doubt. I gasped for breath. My entire body was buzzing with electricity. A fucking detective. What are we going to do? Not here. Wait till we're in the cabin. I tried to walk, but it was as though my legs weren't listening. I stumbled and Jay quickly caught me by the arm. Careful, you idiot. He must have been worried because his name-calling lacked its usual bite. Put his arm around my shoulder and helped support my weight as we quickly headed back to the cabin. Walked in silence, but my mind was swarming with thoughts. So it's a game you want. Well, allow me to oblige. But I hope you remember, Wren, that I have never once lost to you. Jay paced when he was nervous. After everything that had happened today, how could he not be? As he walked, tracing a line from the edge of the bed to the opposite wall, he tried to remember every detail of the evening's events. Should he miss something important, make one small misstep, everything could come crashing down. So the attendants are more than just security. I'm sure of it. Are they police in disguise? That fucking detective. What are the odds someone would recognize Robin? Does he know me as well? I paused briefly and glanced over at her, curled up in the bed. They'd only been together a short while, but it was long enough to know she could fall asleep at nearly the drop of a hat. I listened to her soft, gentle breathing, and it calmed him a bit. I don't understand you. It seemed like her detective did, though. Jay could only watch as the two of them carefully navigated their conversation, like rivals playing a game of chess. He'd never been much good at conversation himself. Robin probably found it a relief to finally have someone else to talk to, even if they were trying to convict her of murder. How many times today did she tell him to leave? It was clear she didn't feel she needed his protection or his company. Why am I following you around anyway? What reason did I have to throw my entire life away for you? Because you were pretty? Because you were funny and kind? Am I that much of an idiot? He already knew he was. His mother had made him acutely aware of his weakness, and she had taken every opportunity to punish him for it. Oh no! You're far too trusting. That won't do it, our line of work. Oh. That's not what I was expecting. Next time I find out you've made another friend, I'll have you do the deed yourself. Her words echoed in his head. Is Jay the family? Is it Jay's family? Is Jay's family the family? Were we not actually the family and we were just making it up? Without knowing? Her words echoed in his head. Even as an adult, the thought of her wrath called... I'm pathetic. Robin had called him some lost puppy. He supposed that was true. He had burned his bridges when he'd helped kill a client to protect her. He had nowhere else to go now. His mind wandered to their playful banter this morning, to the sour face she made when she took a sip of the drink he'd made. He had wanted to kiss her then, to feel her warmth pressed against him and run his fingers through her soft hair. To hold her close and never let her go. Oh, but he didn't, and now it was probably too late. It didn't matter. He planned on parting ways with her when they reached Gale's anyway. He didn't deserve to continue putting her in danger. He crossed the room once more, but this time stopped before turning around. Gently, so as not to wake her, he sat on the edge of the bed. As he watched her sleep, the argument they'd had that evening played over in his mind. Are you crazy? He clearly knows what we've done. We have to stay in the cabin now. We can't continue to give him ammunition against us. I told you, he may suspect us, but he doesn't have any proof. If he did, he'd have arrested us on the platform. He thinks Sullivan deserved what he got. He was practically inviting us to try and get away with this. He's not going to use the fact that he's recognized me. He thinks it would be cheating. He intends to play this game clean. And this man you haven't seen for over 10 years. What makes you think you're so special? Jay knew the reason, but he wanted to hear her say it. It was making him furious that she kept dancing around this issue, as though he was too stupid to notice. What? What do you mean? I'm not blind, Robin. He may have been speaking to the whole room, but his words were meant for you. He searched for a better word than the one that came to mind. In love with you? Yes. Infatuated with you. Close enough. Possibly more accurate. Robin gave him a searching look, as though she couldn't believe what he was saying. You're jealous of him, aren't you? Could feel his face turning red with anger and embarrassment. And her look of slight annoyance only deepened the hurt he felt. Jay. He didn't want to hear her rejection. If you trust him so much, maybe you should go sleep in his bed. Let him protect you. You're nothing but trouble anyway. The words spilled out before he could stop them, and he hated himself for it. I'm pathetic. She stood there staring at him, dumbfounded. You really are an idiot. She hadn't spoken to him the rest of the evening. Eventually she fell asleep, and Jay was left alone with his thoughts. So in this iteration of the argument, Robin doesn't get to lovey-dovey game playing with Wren. Jay gets jealous. Robin gets mad. and Jay's bad end. Robin got too lovey-dovey and messed up too much. Jay gets jealous. Robin gets mad, but then takes it a bit too far. Jay gives up. Robin feels awful. She hadn't spoken to him for the rest of the evening. Eventually she fell asleep, and Jay was left alone with his thoughts. He sat there on the bed with her sleeping peacefully beside him, and cursed himself for his childishness. Why did I say that? There wasn't much time left before they would part ways, and he had ruined any affection she may have held for him. As he stewed in his self-pity, he felt a gentle tug on his arm. He turned to see that Robin, still asleep, had grabbed the hem of his shirt. He could hear her mumbling softly. She must be dreaming. He leaned down to see if he could make out what she was saying. Shay. She was calling his name, not the made-up one she gave him while they fled the country. His real name. He put his head in his free hand, allowing her to cling to the other. For the first time in days, his mind was clear. He knew what he was going to do now. Until this train stopped, he was going to protect her, no matter what. He'd even kill her precious detective if he had to. To be continued. And that's it. We're set up for part 2. And that's all for Red-Handed Robin, part 1. I'm curious if part 2 is going to pick up from either good ending. Mainly, I'm curious to see how this plot develops. It started off as just a thief caper, but there's more to all 3 of our protagonists than meets the eye. Wren with the past with Roslyn, and their games, their flowery battle of wits, and then deeper than that, there's the other guards on the train. So perhaps Wren was rooting for Robin to win this game, because he knew that the alternative was not great. So the initial game between them wasn't just a game going back to their olden days. It was also a plea for her to be the Robin Hood that he knew and loved. They were obviously kids then, but loved. And get away with this. You have Shay, I should say Jay, real name Shay, and his profession, which seems to be assassination and other cleanup work, obviously comes from a family of assassins. Seeing that his mother was obviously in the same line of work. I'm still very curious to hear more about Robin's time at the Sullivan estate. What she was doing there to begin with. Was she always there just to... What happened, how they met, what happened with Sullivan. Just who was Sullivan? Got this impression of a jewel man, thoroughly depraved, and yet somehow above the law, in ways that began backfiring immensely for our intrepid thief and her loyal bodyguard. Still very, very curious to see how the truth behind that develops. very curious to see, and obviously the frame for the story is going to be winning the game and reaching Gales in one piece. There's still the framing of can we get Jay to stay with us beyond that and start over, or continue doing other nefarious things together? It's obvious there is affection brewing mutually between them. And the arrival, something more than Robin was willing to admit. Since I am kinda honestly betting on, in terms of predictions for Warren's story, the whole pocket watch deal that got Warren thrown out. I want to bet that that was actually genuine feelings, but it could have been just another game. You never know. Young Rosalind did seem rather cruel in her games, to have always won, and the like. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how this goes forward. I'll be definitely interested in part 2. I'd say part 1 was solid. I really enjoyed the idea of keeping your story straight, and how all that varied between normal socializing and socializing with Wren. I'm curious to see how that will develop more in the coming part. If there'll be more of that same idea, where we still have the potential, starting part 2, to get Wren suspicious and get us that bad ending. Really enjoyed this, not gonna lie. I'd say proofreading, but other than that, I really enjoyed. And I hope you did too. So until part 2, we'll be keeping our eyes out for. Until part 2, until then.